Good morning, evening, or afternoon to you. I hope you are well. If you're not, I have just a thing to cheer you up. Today I'm going to talk about both times this past year that I've been nearly injured or killed. If you're squeamish, don't worry. I promise that there's no blood, gore, or any shock factor images here, so if you can't stand the sight of that sort of thing, you're good to go. Trust me when I say that both of these stories aren't as glamorous or as enthralling as you might think. One of them happened due to my own stupidity. The other happened because it was out of my control. Whatever the case, these are my recollections. Let's begin. This is the story of how I got chemically burned by helicopter fuel. So here's how it goes. One day I get asked to take fuel samples from a helicopter, a task which even a 5-year-old could be trained on how to do, because all you have to do is crawl under a helicopter, open a panel, push up towards the helicopter with a bottle, and inspect the sample for contamination. It's easy shit, but there are times when applying too much upward force can cause the helicopter to start pissing fuel all over you. With that in mind, there are two things you need to know about helicopter fuel. First, it causes massive irritation if it gets on your skin, or worse if it gets in your eyes. Second, the scent of fuel is basically impossible to remove from regular clothing, meaning that whatever it touches will reek of fuel until the end of time. Judging by how I'm wording all this, you probably know what happened when I got under that helicopter. It wasn't fun. My initial response to getting shit on by a helicopter was a simple "What the fuck?" because I didn't want to risk getting any fuel in my mouth. Although I was wearing a face shield, gloves, and other protective equipment, the fuel soaked through most of it, drenching my uniform and undergarments. A buddy of mine happened to be nearby when this occurred, so once he heard me scream "What the fuck?" alongside the sound of rushing fuel, he immediately ran for assistance. So there I remained, laying below a helicopter with my finger stuffed inside the fuel panel to prevent any further spillage, all the while beginning to itch, because again, fuel and skin do not go together. About 2 minutes passed before my buddy came running back with other people and a fuel spillage kit to help. I was ordered to get out from under the helicopter and immediately go take a shower to minimize the skin irritation. The moment I stood up to leave the area, I felt a very unpleasant burning sensation in my nether regions. Notice how I've emphasized that helicopter fuel causes massive skin irritation? Well, that's because my testicles and my calves got drenched in that stuff. At that point, I just started running. The following 4 days after that were also rather unpleasant. Although I did not suffer any skin damage from the fuel, my balls would randomly burn during those 4 days. On top of that, I was forced to throw away all the clothes I wore during that event, because as I learned, not even an entire container of Tide Pods is enough to wash out the smell of fuel. I laugh at myself every time I remember that story, but I also cringe. Hell hath no fury like a pair of testicles that are burning. This story actually ended up on the news a few months ago.
This is Military Times Minute. I'm Andrea Scott. 12 sailors were injured Friday when a helicopter crashed aboard the aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan. An MH-60 Seahawk crashed on the Reagan's flight deck shortly after taking off at about 9 a.m. local time, as the carrier conducted routine operations in the Philippine Sea. There were 4 service members on the aircraft at the time, but Navy officials did not immediately say whether they were among the sailors injured.
The sound of rotor blades hitting the flight deck sounds an awful lot like gunshots, now that I remember. When I heard the crash, I initially thought that ordnance was being tested or something. That was what I thought until I saw big chunks of helicopter go flying everywhere. I ran behind a firefighting truck to take cover from the debris, because even though I was a fair distance away from the crash site, I was still close enough to potentially be hit by debris or shrapnel. Once the gunshot-like noise died down, I started running towards the crash site to assist the hose teams. Those who were injured were carried off by medical personnel to be taken care of, and the pilots and passengers exited the crashed bird without any serious injuries. Those of us near the helicopter stood with hoses ready, just waiting for a spark to ignite a flame. One of the fuel tanks had busted open after crashing, resulting in the surrounding area being covered in debris as well as fuel. The only thing that was missing for a fire to break out was a single spark. Thankfully, no fire erupted. I remained with the host teams until I was called back down by my supervisor. None of our people were wounded, but there were a few who were shaken up a bit by the events. Operations continued as normal a few days later. Just in case you're wondering, situations like these don't happen often. When it's something as amusing as getting your nutsack burned with the force of 1,000 suns, people generally laugh it off so long as it's taken care of properly. The more serious events, though? Now that's a different story. Thank you for watching.